Hi, fifth graders. So let's get started with an example. So I have my whiteboard, my marker, and my eraser, and I'm going to write the problem on here. Let's use the number 155 as our example problem. And you can add a decimal at the end of it if that helps you picture where it is on the place value chart. And actually, I'm going to think of this as money. So I'm going to add a dollar sign at the front because sometimes it's easier to use money when we're thinking of an example. It's a real thing we use. So first, let's say I want to round this number, round to the nearest 100. So this is going to be our first example, round to the hundreds. So on my number here, I'm going to figure out where is my hundreds place. So this is my decimal. This would be in the ones, the tens, the hundreds, right here. So what I'm going to do with that number is actually draw a number line. It's going to be a little bit different than normal. I'm going to make my number line go up and down like this. So if I'm rounding to the nearest 100, what hundreds am I currently in? How many do I have? We have 100. Let's write that down. That's going to go at the very bottom right here. There's my 100. Then I'm going to think, what is one more 100 than this? So I have 100. It's one more. 200. That's going to go at the top of my number line. So I know my number, 155, is somewhere in between here. This is where the midpoints from yesterday and a couple of weeks ago is coming back. So in between these two numbers, 100 and 200, I need to figure out what is exactly in the middle of that. So I think it would be 150. I'm going to use this number to figure out, is my number more than halfway there or less than halfway there? So our number is 155. Where is that in relation to 150? Is that more than 150 or less than 150? It would be more. I have 5 more, so it's going to go somewhere maybe there. So this is the reason why we create the number line, is because now I can see which one it's closest to. Is 155 closer to 200 or closer to 100? It's closer to 200. So when we round to the nearest 100, our answer, we'd say we have about $200. When we round to the nearest 100, we have about $200. Let's use this same number again, but instead of rounding to the nearest 100, let's round to the nearest 10. So on here, I'm going to start at the beginning of my number and underline everything that comes before the tens. So I have ones, here's my tens, and then I have my hundreds I'm going to include. And here's why. When we're making our number line, how many tens do I have? I could say I have 5 tens, which would be 50, but I can't round this number, 155, and say it's close to 50. That doesn't make sense. So I underline both of these. It's going to be 150. So that's going to be my bottom of the number line. So I'm rounding to the nearest tens. What if I add a 10 to this? So I have 5 tens. What's one more? 6 tens. So that would look like this. 160. So again, I'm going to think, what is in between 150, 160? That should be 155. Right in between these two. So now my question is, on this number line, where would my 155 go? Wait a second. I just wrote that number right here. My 155 is right in the middle of those two numbers. And that's when that saying we wrote down in our notebook comes into play. So open up. We said 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, let it soar. So here's what I meant by that. On here, if it is anything below this, so 154, there's that 4 I was talking about. If it was anything below this midpoint, we would let it rest. We would keep it with what we started with up here, my 15, which was 150. Then the 5 or more, let it soar. So here I have a 5. It is right on that midpoint. If we're right on the midpoint, we're going to round up. Let it soar. We're going to go to the top. So if I'm rounding 155 to the nearest $10, I'm going to say I have $160. So this is actually something you probably did last year in 4th grade. This year, we do the same thing, but with decimals included. So I'm going to erase this, and in the next video, we'll start with some decimals. Good job, everyone.